Hey, everybody, this is Michaela Ray, and welcome to the Feral Woman Podcast. This is my first podcast in a really long time, and the first, I believe, with the Feral Woman Project that I started when I hit the road for Costa Rica, leaving from the United States. So I wanted to use this opportunity to do an intro, talk about what I'm up to, and why I'm speaking on these kinds of topics. And ultimately, my overarching goal here is to help women who know that something's off to finally name it and to step into that full unapologetic ownership of their own lives. So, who am I? Well, I am the feral woman. I am living a life that I believe embodies these things that I've outlined as being quote unquote feral. We'll get into that here in a second. And my history is pretty extensive, but just a few key bullet points that might serve as info into who I am. I was in the military for 8 years in the Air Force. I was an aircraft mechanic, one of three females out of 400 guys. So lots of patriarchal fun there. But I've also been married and divorced twice. I've been engaged 3 times. I raised a child basically alone with very little to no support financially or just in general. And now I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been in the mental health world for years now. And some of the patterns that I keep seeing in women are things that I want to talk about here. Things like overfunctioning, people pleasing, living by the shoulds or shoulding all over ourselves, right? And underneath it all, we're not knowing our own worth. And this leads to what I've experienced myself, this slow burnout or feeling domesticated. And you're in this survival mode that, even while it may be very pretty and well decorated version of survival mode, it's no longer acceptable. So my big leap came when I decided to leave the States. And I think I decided around August of 2025, and then I hit the road in late November of 2025. Left my carefully curated life in Texas, put my entire world into my car, sold everything else. I do have a small storage unit in Texas, but still, that's more for my daughter if she wants to use those things. But I loaded up and drove with my animals through Mexico and Central America into the Costa Rican jungle, and I did this alone. No Spanish. No, that's not true. Not no Spanish. Un poquito español. Very little Spanish. And everybody around me thought this was a crazy idea. They had a reason why it was a bad idea. It was dangerous. It was irresponsible. And especially my family. And I had to decide whose voice I was going to trust. My own intuition telling me I needed to get out of the state of Texas and then the US itself, or the propaganda that sells us these images of our neighboring countries as these places to be fearful of. It's interesting to consider why that would be, and I think it serves people in power that we believe these things. But it has not been my experience that Mexico is this terrifying place that everybody else told me it was going to be. So I did have a couple of moments though that, one was, what the hell am I doing? I think it was a few weeks into my trip, so right before Christmas, maybe about a month on the road, I landed in Oaxaca City, Mexico. I spent a month there. I found this amazing little, well, not little, it was a limestone factory that had been converted by a civil engineer into Airbnb suites. And it was so perfect because it was secure. My car was secure. My animals were secure. I felt secure. And this civil engineer was in his late 70s, maybe early 80s, very sweet man. And he really took me into the family over the Christmas time. I got to see the La Posada, which is where Mary and Joseph go and ask for shelter, and the children sing them in, and then the children do a pinata, and the pinata has, I think, 5 points or 7 points, and it's the deadly sins. And there's food and caroling afterward. It's just I have goosebumps talking about it. It was incredible. I'm so grateful for that experience, and it was so needed because there was where I went through what's called expat grief. And I know the term expat is all people get hinky about it. You can call me an immigrant. That's totally fine. I'm not hung up on that, but this is actually a psychological phenomenon term. So expat grief is not just homesick. It's where you are gutted because not only did you leave your family and friends, but you're in a place that people don't even know you exist. They don't care if you live or die. You are surrounded, you are just nothing in this new place, right? And then of course is all the fear that would come with that. So for days, I was sobbing so hard that my abs were sore. I was really questioning my choice, ready to turn around. Fortunately, I was almost to the bottom, mid bottom of Mexico by then, so turning around would have been quite a feat. So I didn't do that. So I'm grateful. So there have definitely been a couple moments of doubt, but that was one of the big ones. But what I have had way more of are moments of certainty, or moments of clarity, not necessarily certainty. The certainty isn't always there. And I have to sometimes know that the direction I'm going is right, even without being able to see the destination. And that's a lot of what we'll talk about here. I really thought I was driving towards something figured out. I'll get to Costa Rica and everything will be great. But it turns out I'm still in motion, and I'm learning to stop requiring myself to have it all figured out before I can fully show up. I am currently coming to you from Costa Rica. As you can see, well, maybe you can't see, but maybe you can hear that it's beautiful. It's rainy. I'm in a cloud forest. I'm super grateful to be here, but I don't know that Costa Rica is the end destination. I still flirt every day with possibly going back to Mexico because that place absolutely stole my heart. So anyway, let's move on to what does it mean to be feral? Feral's not exactly wild and out of control. I think that the wildness is absolutely a piece of it, but the out of control chaos part is not. What it is a fierce, unapologetic, making choices based in honoring yourself kind of mentality and persona. You're protecting and honoring your resources of time, attention, and energy in a way that allows you to sustainably live out your particular purpose. This looks like choosing your day, choosing your environment, choosing your people and your work. It's deprogramming patriarchy and obligation, and it's calming your nervous system and getting rid of that artificial sense of urgency, which was coined, I don't know if it's coined by him, but came to me through a former Marine pilot client of mine. He's a super cool guy. I love that term, artificial sense of urgency. How many of us live by that, right? So of course, if we look at my own life examples of making this kind of choice, honoring myself, the big one is choosing to leave the country, choosing to leave the country that I served, that I no longer felt safe in, going against what everybody was telling me, this is a scary thing. You shouldn't be doing this. This is crazy. And I did it anyway. A more practical, recent change, for an example of honoring myself, is my work schedule. I used to work, I see 20, 21 clients a week, and I was packing all of those into 3 days, 7 sessions a day. And it was destroying my nervous system because, yeah, I had several days off after that, but it still wasn't enough to serve as that nervous system ICU that I needed to recover from the solid, 3 days of holding that intense attention and space for my clients. So I've since moved it out to more days, fewer hours. That means fewer days off, but those days off that I have, I'm not in this deep state of recovery and my nervous system isn't bracing itself every week that then what turns into dread, right? I'm sure a few of us can relate to that as well. So I'm still constantly doing this every day in my own life, which I hope to share with you along the way. So who am I talking to here? I'm talking to women. I'm talking to career women. I'm talking to perimenopausal, postmenopausal, menopausal women. I'm talking to those of us that have felt trapped, frustrated, chaotic, confused, misaligned, depleted, afraid, enraged, oppressed, unheard, and unconsidered. And we can't quite name what's wrong. We're making choices that we can't defend. We're tolerating things that we can't object to. We're shrinking in ways that we never consciously decided to. So, if any of this resonates with you, stay with me. This is for women who are ready to stop just surviving and actually living their own lives. So, what I'm going to be doing here is essentially what I've coined psychospiritual insight stream. We're going to be talking about nervous systems, trauma, patriarchy deprogramming, but also intuition, alignment, and real life. And some of these episodes will be more clinical, some more mystical. All of it will be grounded in real life. So this will be pulling from my own life, but also from what I work with in session. Of course, I will protect details, but these are often themes that I see across the board. It's rarely this anomaly of, oh, you're the only woman experiencing this. So, some of our main topics are going to be things like self worth, relational dynamics and what we tolerate, embodiment, nervous system regulation, deprogramming obligation, intuition and self trust, and personal responsibility as reclaimed power. So, some of these solo episodes will be stories from my move and the concepts underneath them. And then some of them may also be guest convos with other feral women out there living their lives. So if you do want to go a little bit deeper with some of this, I can share more about that later. So this is where I'm going to ask you to do something. I want you to, within this next week, pay attention to one place that you're acting from should. And my favorite spiritual teacher, Ram Dass, said, we're shoulding all over ourselves. So, where are you shoulding all over yourself? The question really can also be framed as, what standard am I upholding that I never actually signed up for? And would I choose it again today? And I have my clients constantly check your standards, question your standards. Are these standards that you signed up for? Are these standards that were inherited? Are these standards that you would sign up for again today? One example that from my own life is, I grew up cleaning every Saturday. Every single Saturday we cleaned no matter what, and the house was always spotless. You could eat off the floor. And so then when I left and became an adult and had my own kid, and I'm in the military, and I got at least 2 dogs, usually they're big dogs like mastiffs, so drool and all sorts of stuff all over the place. I'm also very introverted, so I didn't have people over or anything like that, but my house was still always spotless. Every Saturday I would clean top to bottom, and if I missed it, it would stress me out. It would ruin my entire next week. But nobody ever saw my house, and I've got 2 to 3 dogs. I got a kid that I'm raising. I'm working at least one job and was probably in school, and I'm still trying to maintain that standard. Eventually, I was able to let go of that standard, and it got to the point where I cleaned when it was time to clean. I was able to lay that one down. But I had to first recognize it. I had to recognize that this is not my standard. This was a standard given to me, and it didn't serve me anymore. Another great example that I like to use is, it references Gandhi, which I know, controversial treatment of women for sure, not someone we want to claim as this all over hero. But this example speaks to this perfectly, where he was leading the march against the British, and all these followers had left their job, their livelihood, their families to come follow him. And a few days into the march, he stopped it. And one of the leaders came to him and said, "You can't do this. You can't stop. All these people have given up everything for what you're doing here." And he said to him that my obligation is to truth, not to consistency. We often confuse consistency with integrity, and that's not always the case. So, all right. Again, Michaela Ray with the Feral Woman. I'm here to help women who know that something's off to officially name it, to step into that full, unapologetic ownership of their own lives. So please follow along, like, subscribe, share with a friend. Some of the things we're going to go over in this first season is how I knew it was time to leave Texas when everyone said not to. Also, what feral actually looks like in practice, knowing your worth and what changes when you do, relationships that cost more than they give, how patriarchy lives in our body and on your calendar, and protecting your time, attention, and energy. I do want to close with one of my most favorite quotes, which is attributed to the Buddha. Worry not what will become of you. Cease needing the help of all others. Only then are you truly free. And this doesn't mean that I want you to live in isolation for the rest of your life. What it does mean is that you do not need the approval of others to feel okay. You don't need their permission to choose or their agreement before you trust yourself. You can have deep relationships and still not depend on them to tell you who you are. Independence and isolation are not the same thing. I hope you enjoy, and I will see you again soon.